This conference will now be recorded.
Hello everyone. So we're starting a new unit which is acid, bases and salts, and here we will discuss the topics first acid and bases, that is the primary idea, and after that there will be three theories based on which we can define acid and bases and classification of acid and bases, and if time permits we can also discuss some problems based on those topics. So here we will first have the introductory idea about the acid and bases. So if we consider the earliest criteria for the characterization of acid and bases, these are obviously experimentally observed properties. So we will take the aqueous solution of this acid compound and base compound, and there will be some observations, that is experimental observations, and from that we can determine the criteria so that we can characterize these compounds as any compounds as acids or bases. So here you can see some pictures of acid and bases, and these are our day-to-day life household things. These are not nothing new. So here you can see the categorization. So in the left hand side we have four species: lemon juice, vinegar, battery acid, soda. All are under the category of acid, and bases: baking soda, ammonia, soap, borax. All these are under the category of bases. Okay. So acid are those aqueous solution that taste sour, turns blue, litmus red. Now litmus is the type of indicator which is available in two different colors. One is blue color, another one is red color. So if you have blue litmus paper, if you are dipping it in the solution of acid, it will be converted to red color, from blue to red color, and neutralizes bases. So here the definition is using the term base, but next we will see what is base. So aqueous solution, it will taste sour, as you can understand from all this. Actually you can taste these three, right? And you know there is some sour taste, and it can turn blue litmus red and neutralizes bases, and there are some other properties also. So these are the very basic properties that you are seeing here, right? And more we will delve into this unit, more you will be able to know different properties of acid and bases, but these are the very basic criteria, basic experimental observation. Then base aqueous solution now tastes bitter, and it turns red litmus blue. So now there is another type of litmus paper which is red in color, and if you are dipping it in basic solution, it will be converted to blue color. And on the contrary, now we will say that it neutralizes acid. So basically, acid and base, they neutralize each other. Now, what is neutralization? There is separate topic on that. And after neutralization of acid, between acid and base, there is a production of a new compound which is called salt. That we will discuss separately. Right now, just remember that they neutralize each other. Neutralize, basically, in simpler words, we can say that they destroy the properties of the other compound. That is a kind of neutralization. So when you are having acid and base together, they will cancel out each other's property, and there will be a formation of new compound. So that is a simpler way of saying how what is neutralization means. Now, when we will try to define acid and bases, there are actually total three theories. Different concepts have been put forth by different investigators to characterize acid and bases. But among those theories, there are three important modern concepts on the basis of which we can define acid and bases. So as you can see here, we have these three theories. The first theory is Arrhenius theory. The second theory is Bronsted-Lowry theory. And the last one is Lewis theory. So one by one, we will discuss all these theories, and also we will see examples under each section. That is for Arrhenius theory, what are the kind of acid and bases. Same also for the other two theories. So that when you will have some compound, you will not only recognize it whether it is acid or base, you will be also able to understand whether it is a Arrhenius type of base or acid, or Bronsted type of Lowry type of acid base, or Lewis type of acid base. So that is the importance of these three theories. So one by one we will discuss these theories. So here you can see all the theories are presented in a very simple manner. So when it is Arrhenius theory, this definition is possible only when these compounds are present in water medium, that is aqueous solution. So how we are defining acid? Acid are those substances that can produce H plus. That is, they can produce proton. H plus is also called proton. Proton. So those compounds which can produce H plus ion, that is the proton in aqueous medium, those compounds we will call as acids, and that is the definition according to Arrhenius. Similarly, for bases, there will be formation of hydroxyl ion, which is OH minus. Basically the negative charge over oxygen, but we write it in this way, OH minus or hydroxyl ion. So these are the definition for Arrhenius. And there is two more theories, but we will go to that later. But initially what we can say that when it is Bronsted-Lowry, it is not restricted to water solvent. You can take any solvent. And Bronsted-Lowry, it is compared to Arrhenius, it is more general, which is clear from its definition. Now, acid and base, we will define. One is donating H plus, that is, acid will be those compounds which can donate H plus and not necessarily it has to be aqueous medium. And reverse definition is for base, that it will accept H plus, right? So try to understand difference with the previous one. In the previous case, acid and base, two different types of ions we are considering. H plus production will be from acid. HO minus production will be from base. But when it is Bronsted-Lowry, we are giving the definition. Acid are those compounds that are donating H plus and bases are accepting H plus. So as if this definition is complementary to each other. That is the definition of acid and definition of base. These two are complementary to each other, right? And the third one is Lewis. Now Lewis theory is mostly applicable in organic chemistry, unlike these two. That is Arrhenius, Bronsted, you will mostly find in inorganic chemistry. But for Lewis theory, mostly in organic chemistry, and they are applicable for wide range of substances. But we will not go into details for these two theories. Just look at the definition. Now the definition is more general compared to the other two theories. Now why I am saying more general? It is because, look at the definition, accepting electron pair and bases are those substances that are donating electron pair. So there is no question of any ion donation or ion acceptance. It is only based on electron pair. So that is what is more general, because electron pair can be present in different types of compounds. That is, different types of compounds, just this condition has to be fulfilled, that if it is any compound is accepting electron pair and not there is nothing to do with H plus or HO minus. So simply if it is fulfilling the criteria, if it is accepting electron pair, it will be called as acid, and on the contrary basis, it should donate electron pair. Okay, so these two are also just like Bronsted theory, as if they are reverse to each other, right? So now we will focus on Arrhenius theory, and here you can see the corresponding example. So when it is Arrhenius, example of acid is HCl and base is NaOH, because HCl in aqueous medium, it can produce H plus, and NaOH in aqueous medium, it can produce HO minus. Similarly, Bronsted-Lowry, here you can see these two are the Bronsted acid, because they can donate H plus, or that is, this part is actually same when you consider the definition of acid. In both theories it is same. So HCl, again, that is why HCl we have again taken as example. But now look at the base. The base, there is no hydroxyl ion, no OH ion, but still we are calling it base because it can accept H plus, and once it is accepting H plus, now it will be converted to NH4 plus. Now it is having some charge, obviously. And Lewis theory, the last one. This one is Lewis acid because this molecule can accept electron pair. And ammonia again, which is you have seen as example of base under Bronsted-Lowry category. Now this you can also call Lewis. So it is not that any compound it is under any particular theory you are using as example. It cannot be acid or base in other theory. There is no such restriction. They just have to fulfill the criteria. That is the criteria that we have mentioned in the definition. So ammonia, it has lone pair over nitrogen, so it can donate electron pair. Then why it will not be Lewis base? Okay. So whenever you are trying to check any molecule as acid or base under any of these three theories, you just have to consider the definition, whether it is fulfilled by them or not. So for Arrhenius, here we have pictorial representation. So acid will be those compounds where you have taken it in water medium and there is formation of protons. So this is a pictorial way we are trying to understand what is Arrhenius theory, what is acid and base according to Arrhenius theory. Similarly, for base, when you have taken it in water medium, there will be formation of hydroxyl ion, right? So now we know what is Arrhenius theory, but that is not the end of the story. There is also some limitations for this theory. So what are those limitations that we will see one by one? So limitation of Arrhenius theory. The first limitation is, it is true that it has wider applicability. But in spite of that, wider applicability in aqueous solution, because that is the restriction. Arrhenius theory could not be applied to non-aqueous systems. Suppose instead of water, you have taken some other solvent. It is not necessary always you have to take water. Suppose you have taken some other solvent. Then you cannot apply this theory because it is only applicable in water. So this is a limitation, right? Now come to the second point. It fails to explain how substances lacking OH minus ion, that means those compounds where no OH ions formation possible, form basic solution when dissolved in water. So see, here we have taken these two ions, NO2 minus and F minus. Now they can also form basic solution, but there is no H minus ion, but still they can behave as base. So it fails to explain how those compounds where no H minus ion formation possible, how they are acting as base. How you will explain on the basis of Arrhenius? You can't. So that is the limitation. And the last point, H plus is actually shown to undergo strong hydration in aqueous solution. So what it means? It means, according to Arrhenius, what we are saying, that acid are those substances which can produce H plus. That means in water medium, there will be H plus, as you can see in this pictorial representation. But what happens in water? There is water molecule. Now water molecule is there and the acid is producing some H plus. So what will happen? These two together, water molecule, if I am writing the full structure like this, we know there are two lone pairs. Now this water molecule, it will be now attached to this H plus and ultimately there will be positive charge over oxygen. Now I am writing positive charge over oxygen and this ion is basically, okay, let me erase this positive charge over H. Now it is H3O plus. So you will write it as H3O plus. And this cation, it is called hydronium. So it is H, we can say that H plus is now hydrated by these water molecules and it is producing hydroxonium ion, which is H3O plus. That means we are saying, according to Arrhenius definition, that acid are those substances that are producing H plus. But ultimately in the medium, it is not remaining in the H plus form. It is converted to H2O plus, and that is written in the third point, that H plus is actually shown to undergo strong hydration. That is, it will be surrounded by water molecules and ultimately it will form H3O plus. It will not remain as simply H plus ion. So these are the limitations of this theory, Arrhenius theory. The next theory, Bronsted-Lowry theory. So in this theory, so focus on this one. Acids are those that are donating H plus and reverse bases accepting H plus. And here we have these examples. These two are Bronsted acid, this is Bronsted base. Now, here we will see some examples. So Bronsted acid examples, three categories we have taken. The first category is molecular. Molecular means here HCl is the example of Bronsted acid and it is molecular because the molecule itself is neutral. There is no positive charge or negative charge. And in water medium, not necessarily water medium. Here, though we are expressing this equation in general. So H plus is produced. So you can call it Bronsted acid. Similarly, another example, this is number 1 under molecular, that is neutral species acting as Bronsted acid. Number 1 example, number 2 example, HClO4. HClO4 can also dissociate to H plus and ClO4 minus. And according to the definition, we can also call it Bronsted acid. Now HCl and HClO4 both are neutral species, so they are molecular species, neutral. Now come to the second category, cationic. Here we have this cation, aluminium surrounded by 6 water molecules, overall charge is 3 plus. Basically the molecule is like this. Suppose we have aluminium 3 plus cation and it is surrounded by many water molecules. Simply this dotted line that you are seeing, it means interaction. So in this way, total 6 water molecules when surrounded by L3 plus. Here the oxidation state is 3 plus, overall charge is also 3 plus because there is no exact bond with oxygen or aluminum. It is simply surrounded by aluminium 3 plus. Now this species can also act as cationic, that is it can also donate H plus and it is fulfilling the criteria of Bronsted acid. So that is why we can also call it Bronsted acid. So it is donating one H plus. That means one of the water molecule will break and it will produce H plus. Now look at the right hand side. Only 5 water molecules are there because one water molecule already broken. So suppose I am writing it like this. One water molecule is converted to H plus and HO minus. So this HO minus will be remaining inside with one negative charge and H plus is outside. Now as there is one negative charge, so that is why this 3 plus charge is now decreased to 2 plus because it will be cancelled out with this single negative charge for H minus. So as it is producing H plus, so that is why you can also call it Bronsted acid. But it is cationic species. Then NH4 plus. This can also dissociate to H plus and HO minus. So you can also call it Bronsted acid. That is ammonia is not Bronsted acid. NH4 plus is Bronsted acid. Right? Sorry. It is ammonia. Now the third category is anionic type. That means the species must carry some negative charge. Here we have bicarbonate anion, HCO3 minus. It is donating 1H plus. And as 1H plus is removed, there will be one more negative charge, CO3 2 minus. Right? So this is first example. This is also first example. This is second example under cationic category. And under anionic category, the first example HCO3 minus bicarbonate anion. The second example is HS minus. Now this species also can produce proton and S2 negative charge. So as all these species are fulfilling, total 6 examples you have seen. Under each category 2 examples. So total 6 we have seen here. So now you have understood what is Bronsted acid. Now we will see the same thing for base. First, neutral category. So here we have PY. PY is this molecule. Just like benzene, only difference is here we have one nitrogen. And there are hydrogens also. Now this species can capture H plus. So it is fulfilling the criteria of Bronsted base. And after capturing H plus, how it will capture? This lone pair over nitrogen can take this H and ultimately it is converted to like this positive charge over nitrogen, and that is we have expressed it like this in simpler way. This is number one. And the second example is water molecule itself. Water molecule itself is also Bronsted base because it is accepting H plus and converted to basically positive charge. Better you write like this. It is converted to hydronium ion. So here water molecule itself is Bronsted base because it can capture H plus. Now it is also true that there must be some source of H plus. Otherwise, where from it will capture H plus, right? Second category, cation. That means the initial species will be having some positive charge. So see which species we have taken, that species that we have already seen in the product side in the previous example. Bronsted acid example under cationic category. Now that species in the product side we have taken in the reactant side. And it is accepting this H plus and converted to this species which we have seen in the previous example in the product reactant side. And under anionic category we have taken bicarbonate anion, it can accept H plus. So see, this is very interesting. HCO3 minus, when it is donating H plus, you are calling it Bronsted acid. When it is accepting H plus, now you are calling it Bronsted base. So basically it can act as Bronsted acid as well as Bronsted base. And that depends on what is the nature of the other species. So what I am trying to say, Suppose there is some presence of species when HCO3 minus is already present in the medium, and now you are adding some species which is highly having very high tendency to donate H plus. Then HCO3 minus, it will be bound to act as Bronsted base. But suppose that type of strong H plus donor is not present. It is simply present as HCO3 minus. And there is some species which can accept H plus. There is some presence of species like that. Strong H plus accepting species. So when this second species is having this type of nature, now HCO3 minus will be bound to act as Bronsted acid. Because now it is bound to donate H plus. So that is why I am saying, depending on what is the type of other species present, the same species can act as different way. So it is always the relative effect. You cannot say individually that is HCO3 minus, it is Bronsted acid. No, that is not the right way to say anything. You just have to check what is the presence of other species, right? And depending on that, it will behave either as base or acid. So this is the first example. And the second example is we have taken cyanoanion. In presence of some H plus donor, it can accept it and it will produce ACN. On the contrary, if you have taken ACN in the left hand side and if you are saying that there is formation of H plus and CN minus, now you can say that ACN is acting as acid. So it depends on which side it is and whether there is the equilibrium is more towards right hand side or more towards left hand side. So many things are involved. Okay. But when you will get some problem, suppose there is some species given and it is asked whether it will act as Bronsted acid or some other type, that is Arrhenius type or Lewis acid, that answer you can easily give. You just have to check whether it can fulfill the criteria of their definitions of these three theories, right? Limitations. So here also we will see limitations. An important limitation of this theory is that it fails to explain how compounds lacking hydrogen exhibit acidic properties. So two examples. Now these two examples, BF3 and AlCl3, they are acid, basically Lewis acid. So that is why Lewis acid is basically more general. Under the category of Lewis acid, you can have so many species where presence of H hydrogen atom is not necessary, because Bronsted acid, when you are giving the definition, it is all about whether it can accept, donate H plus. But when it is Lewis, those restrictions are not present. It is not necessary that it has to have some H plus. So definition of Bronsted acid, it should donate H plus, but there must be some H atom present in the molecule. Otherwise, how the question arises that it will donate H plus? So H atom must be present if any molecule is acting as Bronsted acid. But that problem you don't have to face in Lewis theory. So this is the limitation. See, when we are talking about the limitation of Bronsted-Lowry, we are also saying that it is less general compared to Lewis. The same thing we have also done in the previous case. So what I am trying to say, in the previous case, when we are talked about limitations of Arrhenius, there we have mentioned in the second statement that how we will apply this theory for those compounds where no presence of OH is there, right? So because the base definition is it should produce OH minus. But if OH group is itself is not present in the molecule, then how the question, that is definition, you will give? But that problem is solved in Bronsted theory, because now for base, when you will give the definition, it is not necessary it has to have some OH. Simply it can accept H plus, you can call it Bronsted base. So limitation of Arrhenius can be solved by Bronsted, and the limitation of Bronsted can be solved by Lewis. Now under Bronsted-Lowry theory, after finishing this, one more thing which we should understand under this theory, and that is conjugate acid base pair. Once it is finished, then we will go to the third theory, which is Lewis theory. So in Bronsted-Lowry theory, we have to understand this term, which is conjugate acid base pair. So what it means? It means The acid and base. Suppose you have two species given, species X, species Y. Now look at the species X and Y carefully. How they are differing from each other. So if they are differing from each other by a proton, then you can call them as conjugate acid base pair. So look at some examples. HF, F minus. So how these two are differing from each other? Obviously, if F minus you add some H plus, you will get HF. That means they are differing by H plus, right? That is the gap between them. Similarly, you have sulfuric acid molecule and HSO4 minus. So sulfuric acid molecule and this anion, there is gap of H plus. Same thing is also for ammonium ion and ammonia, bicarbonate anion and carbonate anion. So these pairs, four pairs, they you can call them as conjugate acid base pair. But why we are discussing it under Lewis, Bronsted-Lewis theory? That is the question. Why we are discussing it? The reason is the definition we are giving for conjugate acid base pair is difference of H, basically H plus. And that is all about the definition of Bronsted-Lowry. What we say when we give definition of acid base, we say that acid is H plus donor and base is H plus accepted. So it is all about H plus difference. So that is why we are talking about conjugate acid base pair here. To look at this equation, we have taken hydrochloric acid molecule and water. Now compared to water, now in water there is proton, there is H, fine. In HCl also there is H. Now you will say then which one will donate H plus in the medium, because both has the capacity to donate H plus. Now the answer is HCl will donate H plus and that will go to H2O. Why? Now that depends on so many things. Right now for this grade it is not so, it will not be very easy to understand for you, and that will be out of syllabus, right? So what in simple way what we can say, that species will be acting as H plus when there is a competition between two species. That species, which one? Just take HCl. What it is producing? It is producing H plus Cl minus. Look at H2O, what it is produce? It will produce, if it is donating H plus, it will produce HO minus. Now among these two species, that is Cl minus and OH minus, the species which is more stable, in that part H plus donation will take place. So here what happens, Cl minus is basically more stable than OH minus, and that is why HCl will donate proton, not water. So when, and this is relative, why I am saying so, when you have taken this combination of HCl and H2O, it is not that H2O will donate proton and that proton will go to HCl. No, that is wrong. HCl will give proton and that will go to H2O. That is right. So it depends on after dissociation, the species that is generated, which one is more stable. Depending on that, this competition, which species will win actually, it depends on that. So here HCl will donate proton and that will be accepted by water. Now once it is so, now look at the right hand side, there will be equilibrium obviously. So when you are in the right hand side, now H2O is converted to HCO plus and HCl is converted to Cl minus. Okay. Now here also if you see, one proton going to Cl minus. So if this H2O plus is donating a proton, that will go to Cl minus and it will be, now consider this side is the reactant side because equilibrium sign we have given. So if you are thinking product side as the reactant side, so these two species when react with each other, it will donate proton, that will be accepted by Cl minus and you will go to the left hand side. Now this side is as if the product side. Now both possibilities are there, but mostly it will remain towards the right hand side form because these species are more stable compared to the left hand side. But equilibrium is always there. It is not that all HCl and all H2O will be converted to this H2O plus and Cl minus. It's not that. Some amount will be converted to like this. That is why there is equilibrium. So here, why we are talking about all the possibilities? Because HCl is acting as acid because it is donating H plus, and here H2 is acting as base. So as if this is type of acid, this is a base. Similarly, in the other side also, when H3O plus is donating proton to Cl minus, now this is acting as another type of acid and this is also acting as another type of base. So you can now say acid, this is acid 1, this is acid 2, this is base 2, this is base 1. Okay. So now try to recognize the conjugate acid base pair. HCl and Cl minus, they are differing from each other by H. So we will call them as conjugate acid base pair. Similarly, water and H2O plus, they will also should be treated as a conjugate acid base pair. Okay. So in this way, you can recognize them. So some pairs, if it is given in the question and you have to recognize them, I hope you will be able to do so. Now go to the third theory, Lewis theory. What is the definition? It is mostly used in organic chemistry. It is having very wider applicability. It is the most general among these three theories. So acids are those species that are accepting electron pair. So BF3 can accept electron pair. So this is Lewis acid, La. This is Lewis base, Lb. Now, if you are reacting these two species to each other, what will happen? This lone pair will be donated to BF3 and they will form species like this. So, sorry, what in each for? So there will be basically some interaction between these two molecules and they will remain together. There will be basically a new type of bond which is known as coordinate bond. Coordinate bond means where both the electrons are coming from one species and going to the another species. So this type of interaction will be there. And this is Lewis definition. So in Lewis theory, Lewis concept is more general than the Bronsted-Lowry concept. That is understood. And according to this concept, the following species can act as Lewis acid and bases. So here we have taken total 4 columns for the types of Lewis base, Lewis acid and the corresponding examples. So this is something. So types of Lewis acid, number 1 category, what we have? Molecules in which the central atom has incomplete octet. That means central atom, surrounding the central atom, 8 electrons are not present. That atom will be electron deficient because any atom there is a tendency to have 8 electrons. Surrounding the atom there must be 8 electrons. But if it is not so, the atom is still deficient. So those molecules where the central atom has incomplete octet, that can act as Lewis acid. So here if you very good example of Lewis acid, always you will see in all the books, this example is present. Now why it is central atom is boron obviously, why it is lacking electron, 8 electron. So in each bond there are total 3 BF bond and in each bond there are 2 electrons. So 2 electrons. So surrounding boron total electrons 6. So it is lesser than 8. So it is incomplete. Similarly, if you consider the other molecule, beryllium chloride, there are total 2 electrons, this side 2 electrons, so total 4 electrons surrounding beryllium. So it is less than 8, octet not complete, so it can act as Lewis acid. Now the second category is all cations are expected to act as Lewis acid since they are deficient in electron. In the second category, we are saying that any type of cation means what? Where positive charge, any species, suppose X, carrying some positive charge, NX, suppose NX, sorry, N plus is the charge because N can be 1 plus 1 charge plus 2 charge. So that is why I have written N. So any species which is cation, there is a tendency to act as a Lewis acid, though it is not mandatory. It is not that always any positive charge it will act as Lewis acid, but there is a possibility. So for example, if you take these cations, they are not going to act as Lewis acid, though there is positive charge. But if you look at this type of ions, then also another one is Fe3 plus you can consider. There is a tendency to accept electrons. Now why these species, if you are thinking that they are having some positive charge, then why they are not, there is no tendency to accept electron pair? Why? It is because they are having stable noble gas configuration. They are very stable species, though they have one electron less, but still they are stable species. Clear idea is possible only if you write the electronic configuration, but for this grade we cannot explain in that way. Just try to understand, though they are carrying positive charge, but still they are stable because they have achieved the noble gas configuration. So positive charge, whenever you are seeing on any species, just check whether there is a tendency to accept electron pair. It is not necessary. So for some cations, this tendency is high. For some cations, this tendency is not high. Now the third type is molecules in which there is presence of central atom where empty d orbital is present. So all the species that you are seeing in the example section, these are the central atom: silicon, germanium, titanium, phosphorus. Now all these central atom, they are from third period. So when they are from third period, what happens in third period only? The presence of the question of d orbital arises, because when it is second period elements like fluorine, oxygen, carbon, this presence of d orbital is not possible. So here all the central atom you will see, at least they will be from third period and the higher period, but not second period. Okay. So here empty d orbital is present for phosphorus, sulfur, selenium, all the central atom tin that you are seeing here. And the fourth type that can act as Lewis acid is molecules having multiple bonds between atoms or dissimilar electron negativity. So suppose we have a species X having a double bond with Y. Now X and Y, their electronegativity should be dissimilar, because if X and Y, their electronegativity is very close to each other, or suppose I am saying two are same atom like this, then it is not possible because there will be no difference in electronegativity. So when there is difference in electronegativity, suppose I am saying that Y is more electronegative than X, so the electrons in this presence of electrons in these two bonds, that will be closer towards Y. So there will be a generation of polarity. More negative charge will be towards Y, more positive charge will be towards X, because Y is more electronegative. So when you have this type of multiple bonds means double bond or triple bond between two atoms, then it can act as Lewis acid. Because what will happen in this case, if this XY, just take CO2. CO2 molecule is like this. Now, in presence of CO2, how it will act as Lewis acid? Suppose you have, there is a presence of any Lewis base. I'm simply writing LB, which is Lewis base. Now, Lewis base, there will be some lone pair. So, this lone pair donating tendency is there. Now, when it will be donated to carbon, this bond will be broken and there will be negative charge over oxygen. That means here oxygen and carbon, between these two atoms there is multiple bond, and carbon is more less electronegative than oxygen, and that is why after the attack by Lewis base, negative charge can be towards oxygen. That means this part, that is if you simply focus on C double bond O, the carbon side is more electropositive. That is why it is attacked by Lewis base, right? So these are the four category of molecules that can act as Lewis acid. And right now, I hope you have already understood why Lewis theory is so much, it has more general, why we are calling it more general theory. Because see how versatile are the examples, right? Total four categories. First of all, this incomplete octet, then the cationic species, the third one is having empty d orbital in the central atom, and the third one is multiple bond between dissimilar electronegativity, uh, atoms of dissimilar electronegativity. So it is very versatile, and that are clear from these different types of examples. So just like acid, if we look at the types of Lewis base, so neutral species having at least one lone pair of electron that can behave as Lewis base. So there must be presence of some lone pair. So take ammonia, or instead of ammonia, suppose we have some amine. This is a general way we can write amine. Amine means NH2 group must be present. And this R may be any methyl group like this, it may be ethyl group. So R is general way of writing any other group. But here also lone pair is present. Similarly, alcohol, which is represented by ROH. So in alcohol, lone pair is present over oxygen. So this can act as Lewis base. And the second type is negatively charged species or anions. So in the previous case, there is lone pair which can be donated to Lewis acid, and in the second category, there is some negative charge present. So that can also be donated to other species. So electron pair donation is possible, and that is why we are calling all these examples, they are Lewis base. Okay. Now what we'll do, we will compare all the three theories that we have discussed until now. So these three theories, since the strength of Lewis acid and bases is found to depend on the type of reaction. See, Lewis acid and base, strength means, suppose I am saying two Lewis acids are there, Lewis acid 1 and Lewis acid 2. Now if I am saying you that just compare which one is more and having more acidity, you cannot compare it, because their strength means what? That is, this Lewis acid, it will obviously react with some Lewis base, and La2 also react with some Lewis base. But this type of reaction between Lewis acid and base, it is dependent on the type of reaction. So when you are trying to compare these two species, which one is having more acidity, you will not be able to do so. Why? Because it may be possible that these two species are not reacting with a common Lewis base. So suppose the common Lewis base is Lb. Now with Lb, both are reacting. That I'm not saying that it will not happen. It may happen. But suppose if it is not happening, that La1 is only reacting with Lb but not La2, then comparison is not possible. And it is normal observation in case of Lewis theory. So that is why it is not possible to arrange them in any order of their strength, because common factor is absent based on which you can compare. Second point, the choice of which definition of acid bases one wishes to use. So three theories now you know, but which theory we will use? How you will understand? So which theory you will choose in a particular instant, that will depend on what sort of chemistry is studied, right? So mostly for this grade and for inorganic chemistry, you will see Arrhenius and Bronsted, these will be most used. Hardly we will talk about Lewis acid or Lewis base. And among Arrhenius and Bronsted, Arrhenius, its use is more. Why? Because Arrhenius concept is perfectly satisfactory and simplest for dealing with reaction in aqueous solution. We know that Arrhenius, we have also seen in the limitation of this theory that it is applicable only in aqueous. But it is, for us, it will be the most common theory we will talk about as we will further proceed in this unit. You will see mostly we are talking about Arrhenius concept, and all the examples that you are seeing, that is according to Arrhenius acid base definition. Why this is the least general, but why we are talking about it more? Because our chemistry that we are going to study, that will be mostly in aqueous solution, and whenever you are talking about aqueous solution, you have to talk about Arrhenius concept. Okay, it is or aqueous solution only mainly applicable. So it is perfectly satisfactory and simplest also for dealing with reaction in aqueous solution. But don't think that Arrhenius concept is the only concept, it is the most important. No, it is not that. For our whatever chemistry we are going to discuss in this grade, it is mostly Arrhenius concept is fine. It is enough. So Bronsted, sometime we will also can use Bronsted, but Lewis hardly we will use. So it depends on which theory you are going to use. It depends on what type of chemistry you are talking about. Okay. It explains satisfactorily the strength of acid bases in aqueous solution. It means Arrhenius. Then neutralization, salt hydrolysis. So these will be the topics will be discussed later in this unit. So all these topics, so in this unit, whatever topics it is mostly, you will see it will be based on Arrhenius theory. But still these three theories we should know, that is a basic idea we should have. And it is also true we will mostly dive deep into the Arrhenius concept only, but the other two concepts also you should know. So here we have a pictorial representation. So from this pictorial representation, it will help you to understand the large sphere that you are seeing, that is for Lewis, where there is electron pair donated from B to A. Now this B may be any species like this, ammonia, Cl minus, Cn minus, and A will be the species which is accepting electron pair. So this is a broader sense theory. So that is why it has a large sphere, and within this category, now the second smaller sphere you are seeing, which is from Bronsted-Lowry. Here the definition is base is the species which is donating H plus, and acid is the species which can accept donate H plus. Now Bronsted-Lowry, it is also, you can say, it is also fulfilling the criteria of Lewis, because Lewis says what? It says acid are those species which can accept electron pair. Now here Bronsted-Lowry, though we are saying that acid are those substance that can H plus, but in the reaction basically it is accepting electron from base, right? So it is another, it is also as if fulfilling somewhere the Lewis concept, Lewis criteria. Now come to the smallest one, which is the least general, Arrhenius, where HO minus will be generated by base, H plus will be generated by acid. Right? So in bronze, so it must generate HO minus. That is the definition of base. And in Bronsted, what we say? We say base are those which can accept H plus. So Arrhenius concept, the species that you are calling as base, suppose I am saying NaOH, which can generate HO minus. So you can say it is Arrhenius base, and that is fine, right? Now this species, it is generating OH minus, but this OH minus can also accept H plus. So it is also fulfilling the criteria from Bronsted-Lowry theory. So that is why compared to Arrhenius, Bronsted-Lowry is general, and compared to Bronsted-Lowry, Lewis is more general. And that is why the pictorial representation is like this. Gradually the sphere size is increased. Okay. So we have discussed all the three theories. And the next topic is classification of acid. There are different types of acid, but classification will be based on three different things. First of all, based on source. What type of source is there from which we are getting these compounds and we are calling them acid? Then on the basis of basicity. Now what is basicity? We are talking about classification of acid. Then what is the meaning of the term basicity? So basicity, what it means, separately we'll see. And the third point is strength. So these are the three things based on which we will try to understand the classification of acid. The first one is source. So classification of acid on the basis of source. Acids are mostly derived from natural sources. Some examples, remember in the first slide of today's class you have seen. So on the basis of those sources, that is the occurrence, two types we will see here, mineral acid and organic acid. So mineral acids are those acids which are obtained from minerals, and organic acid, as the name suggests, they are obtained from plants and animals. It is related to, that is biological. Okay. And mostly general, I am not saying there is no exceptions are also there, but in general you will see organic acids are compared to mineral acids, they are weak. One example we have here, acetic acid, and they are generally strong acid. But in mineral acid also you will see some acid that are not so strong, but it is a general observation that organic acids are comparatively weak. So here we have four examples you can see. All are examples of mineral acid. HCl, very good example. Then we have H3PO4. H3PO4, I am writing the full structure. This is H3PO4. Then we have carbonic acid. Now H2CO3, H3PO4, these two are not so strong. They are basically weak. Okay. And H2CO3 is this acid. And H2SO4. So this. So these are the acids structure I have drawn. All are example of mineral acid. Then we have examples of organic acid, though this acid hardly we will use in this unit. Only it will be restricted to acetic acid. Mostly we will deal with it. Here we have, and in organic acid, you will find this CO2H group, which is called carboxylic acid. See, this group is present. And here the structure is very complex. So full structure you don't need to know. Simply remember the formula. So this is citric acid, formic acid, and their source is natural. This you can find in shower, that is shower card, or any, that is buttermilk, like that. Then acetic acid, it is found in vinegar. Citric acid, it is found in lemon, citrus fruit. So their sources are natural, right? And mineral acid, the source will be minerals. So this is the classification based on source: organic, mineral. Classification of acid on the basis of basicity. First, we will try to understand what is the definition of basicity. So basicity of acid is the number of hydronium ions, that is H2O plus, or you can also say H plus. So number of H plus that can be generated. Why we are saying the definition in terms of H2O plus? Because ultimately we will deal with aqueous solution. So when I am saying the number of H plus, how many H plus can be generated, that is the definition of basicity. This H plus is ultimately, it will be converted to H2O plus because there is presence of H2. So definition, if you say in terms of hydronium ion, it is okay. It is the number of hydronium ion that a compound can produce in aqueous solution. Now, when it is monobasic acid, that means there is only one replaceable hydrogen present, and its basicity will be 1. Dibasic acid, 2 replaceable hydrogen. Tribasic acid, 3 replaceable hydrogen. Basicity 2 and 3 respectively. Now look at these molecules, HCl. So when it is HCl, there is generation of H plus Cl minus, and this H plus ultimately will be converted to hydronium ion. So one replaceable hydrogen. Here also one replaceable hydrogen, H plus, NO3 minus. Then sulfuric acid, basically 2 replaceable hydrogen. So 2H plus when removed, you will be left with sulfate ion, right? Sulfate ion full structure. Remember in the last slide I have drawn the full structure of H2SO4. So when you want to draw sulfate ion full structure, if you are interested, this will be the structure. Then for phosphoric acid, H3PO4, here total 4 replaceable hydrogens are present. Let me draw the structure once more. So when these 3 hydrogens are replaced, there will be formation of 3H plus. One by one it will happen basically. So that is in one time if it is not happen, but replaceable hydrogens are there. So first there will be H plus. So suppose this hydrogen is removed and the structure will be like this. So this is anion, and this anion is basically H2PO4 minus. Similarly, another hydrogen you can remove, and the corresponding anion will be HPO4 2 minus. And the third proton also, when you are removing, the anion will be PO4 3 minus. So in this way, one by one, all the 3 hydrogens replacement possible. So this is having basicity. Sorry, it is by mistake written 2. It will be 3. H3PO3. Then we have carbonic acid, which is H2CO3. So H2CO3 structure is like this. So these 2 hydrogens are replaceable. Only those hydrogens are replaceable that are connected with some electronegative atom. Okay. So suppose H3PO4 we have here. There is, if it is not, hydrogen is not connected through oxygen. Suppose it is connected through phosphorus, that is pH bond is present. That hydrogen is not replaceable. Okay. So you have to, that is if you are having any doubt, you just have to check whether it is connected to some electronegative atom or not. Because why I am saying so, because only when it is connected to some electronegative atom, after removal of this H, suppose this H I am removing, there will be negative charge over this electronegative atom, and it will be very stable, right? So that is why negative charge over electronegative atom, it will be very stable. Next we will have orthoboric acid, H3BO3. This is the structure of H3BO3. So here you can see 3 replaceable hydrogens are there. And that is why we can say that its basicity is also 3. Okay. So in this way, classification of acid on the basis of basicity, here we have seen 3 types. Mostly up to tribasic it is okay. So it is 3. So total carbonic acid, it will be 2. It is by mistake exchanged. It is 3, it is 2. Okay. The third one, classification of acid on the basis of strength. So we will finish at this slide. Let's finish this last classification. So here you can see this picture. We have taken HA, and this is this pictorial representation is trying to understand. Before dissociation, we have this type of picture. After dissociation, it is dissociated to H plus and A minus. Now look at this molecule. All are having one blue sphere connected to two white. So these two white, one is blue connected to one white, as if one is H, another one is A. So when they are dissociated, now some of the molecules are dissociated. So see, this is purely white. That means H plus is the white one, A minus is the blue one. When they are together, it is light blue. So some molecules are in light blue state. Mostly the molecules are light blue state. But if you look at the height, this amount is actually dissociated. So look at the height of this dissociated part, H plus A minus. That means most of the part is undissociated state. Only this amount, as if 10% or 5% is in dissociated state. Most of the molecules are still having this blue part, white part together. Only here we have this white, pure white. Okay, this is purely blue. So only some amount is dissociated. So this will be called weak acid when most of the molecules will remain in undissociated state in aqueous medium. On the contrary, so see, this is the full molecule. After dissociation, this deep blue color part, it is A minus and this is H plus. Now when it is strong acid, most of the part is dissociated, almost 100%. Even if it is 98%, you can say it is 100%. So now all the molecules are dissociated to H plus A minus. So this is the general way formula for acid. So now you have understood the definition of strong acid and weak base. So acids that are completely ionized in water, you can call them strong base. These are very good example. H2SO4 in water, it will produce 2H plus, ultimately it will be converted to H2O plus. And acids are weakly ionized or incompletely ionized, and we are calling them weak acid. So this is very good example. This is one of the organic acid we have seen in the previous classification. So it is producing acetate ion and H plus. Okay. So this is the third classification of acid. Similar classification we will also do for base. But today we are at the end of the session. Thank you for this.